Hey there, thanks there for watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken, a weekly podcast where we try to make Canadian news and politics funner. My name is Brittlestar.
My name is Steve Boots, and I say that we make politics supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh, God.
My name is Lisa. I'm getting a great sense of deja vu. I'm not going to top what Steve just said, so I'm just going to say it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, wow. Leaning right heavily into the ASMR. I like that. It's really good. I just want to immediately address right off the top here that this is the first time we've done a live taping with someone watching with this live studio audience, and the live studio audience's name is Michelle. So hi, Michelle. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Michelle.
And anyone else,
Thanks for
because maybe
coming
there
in.
could be more. I don't know who's there. I can't tell. But I know that Michelle's there because Michelle's interacting in the chat. Anyway, I also, second thing I want to address right off the top, I just want to get it. It's the elephant in the room, and it's my new shirt. My new shirt, A, is not electric.
It feels electrifying.
Oh, it does. But I think that the colors are being given more justice on camera than they are in real life. In real life, it's sort of a lightly cooked salmon.
Ooh.
I was going to say it looks like a salmon color.
Yeah. And the individual print is little nautical wheels, like ship wheels.
Oh, so it's a very dadly shirt.
It's a very dadly shirt. More
excellent
specifically, it's a shirt that perhaps a dentist would wear on his weekend off.
Oh,
That's what I think.
fantastic. On his boat.
That's very specific.
On his boat. He probably got the hat somewhere too. Exactly. So I'm going to get the hat next. I'm saving up for the hat. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Maybe if we get more subscribers, then you can get a hat.
There you go.
If Michelle would just start coughing up some more, she could make up email addresses.
I hear that's a thing.
I'm doing good. The cat has elected to join us briefly. This is Boo Boo. He sends his regards.
Very nice.
There is a week left of school, and so we are all holding on for dear life. But beyond that, doing pretty good. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm good. You sound very calm considering there's only a week left. Like that electricity is just building up.
He's given up. He's given up.
What is already dead.
Exactly.
Dead on the inside.
They broke me years ago. There's nothing left, man.
Right?
Posting it on fumes.
Well, I'm excited for you, so I'm happy that you're
it is
winding down.
I've only had one experience teaching, and I taught from February until June, and I was ready. I think my second last class was teaching the kids to watch Muppets Treasure Island. I was like, this is what we're doing today. This is what we're doing.
I'm going to be in the parking lot.
Yeah.
See ya.
No, I watched it. It was fantastic. It's such a great film. And the last day, I think we just sat around and chatted about what their future aspirations were. Isn't that nice?
Nice.
Those are all high school kids.
So I don't show a ton of movies because you're not supposed to unless you're doing media literacy lessons and all that stuff. But at the end of the year, at like special occasions, I try to show them movies that they haven't already seen, because kids love watching movies they've already seen a bazillion times. Like,
sure,
I remember one of my friend's kids must have made them watch Rio 500 times in a row. And Rio's only pretty good the first time through. It doesn't really doesn't improve with repeated viewings. And so I try to show them like stuff they've never seen. So at Halloween, I show them Secret of Nim to scare the hell out of them, or Ernest Scared Stupid.
The classics.
But this time I'm showing them the Disney movie that like no kid under 20 has seen, that they all should watch because it's fantastic. Atlantis.
Oh,
the most underrated Disney movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
That's from a long time ago. I remember Owen had like a McDonald's toy from that when he was like maybe
good.
3.
Michael J. Fox, Leonard Nimoy.
That's right.
It's fantastic, man.
All right,
that's good.
Well, maybe
you're exposing them to that's good. They need that. Where are they going to get this? Right? Except
where
for
are they going to get it?
Where
are they going to get exposed to
and
Disney? Where? Well,
yes,
that's a legitimate question. Where will they be exposed to Disney? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's today's topic. No, I'm just kidding.
Michelle's regretting her life.
Michelle's
choices.
like, oh, God, this is terrible.
What have I done?
So we are going to talk about a few. Lisa, did you have anything to add? You've been very quiet about what how your
Have
week's
I been?
went.
Oh no, my week's been great. Been great. I do just we didn't wish all the fathers happy Father's Day last week, so
Mm.
you know I'm aware you have some offspring there, Brittleman,
Good
and
Brittleman.
a good Brittleman has his offspring, and yeah, so just we were remiss in that.
Yes.
Well, I
Thank you.
Happy
appreciate that,
Father's Day
but
to you and to
keeping
all the fathers.
being fathers and being dads more specifically, we don't do it for the praise. We do it for the stuff. Um, so let's talk about a few things if we're ready to forge ahead. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Fantastic. So something interesting has been happening lately here in my little hamlet of Stratford, Ontario.
Ooh.
We're a small town of about 36,000 people. And recently, and I'll be really, because I have to live here, I'll be really, really vague on the details, but just give you a general idea. So there's been a handful of individuals, I think there's 3 of them, who have been banned from city property. City property.
That's a thing?
Yes, for I think it was initially for 30 days, maybe, or something. See if I can find out here briefly.
Isn't everything city property?
Yeah, like aren't
Well, no,
roads
because
city property technically?
well, roads technically, I imagine, would be, so they can't loiter on them. They can pass through them to get from point to point, but they can't go to like the
Okay.
rotary. They can't go to like the city hall. They can't go to an auditorium. They can't go to I don't
What
know,
merits
library. I don't know.
this?
Okay, we're gonna need more to this story.
Well, here's what's happening. So what happened is there's this small group of people who are very, very upset with the local government, municipal government. And you are allowed to be upset with the local government. I think that's totally fine. There are some decisions that in the past the local government has made where everyone kind of felt, I don't know if that's a great idea. There's some decisions that were made behind closed doors, like literally, like classically cliched behind closed doors that just, factories would start to be being built. People are like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? So there's been lots of reasons for skepticism and distrust. However, this handful of people have expressed their anger in that beyond a point of civility and what would be known previously as decorum. So they ended up being banned and removed from city hall meetings, like from city council meetings, and then getting banned from city property, which is wild to me. Because as far as I know, there's been some absolute abuse, verbal abuse from these people and a small group around them towards city councilors. They've been going into councilors' places of business, screaming at them, yelling at them, whatever, being just, disgruntled and maybe completely justifiably. But going into their place of business and doing all kind of stuff. They have confronted and screamed at city staff during city council meetings. And as a result, the city council has said, you guys are out. We're not getting anywhere. Nothing productive's happening. You're just being abusive. It's going to potentially lead to violence, and we're not doing that. You're just going to get kicked out. So here's my question for you. My question is this further example of the death of civility? I spoke to the former mayor of our town. We were talking about this, and he said, and I'm not giving anything away by saying this, he said, I think as soon as the pandemic hit, everything went out the window. He said, I noticed a change as mayor. People were like, suddenly just didn't care anymore. Is that what's happened? Is civility dead? Decorum? Don't laugh, Lisa. This is serious.
It's yep. It's a serious. Well, that's my answer. I think so.
Yeah.
I genuinely think, and this feels cynical to say, but I think it's true. Like COVID broke something in a lot of people that we really need to address. Like, so the only example that I can think of is after the Spanish flu, a lot of places had like big jubilees and celebrations and parties and stuff because society got very fragmented, right? People get holed up in their house. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of fear. And everybody was like just expected to carry on.
Right.
And I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but there's this whole idea of alienation. Like people are getting more and more alienated. They're realizing like they weren't able to go visit their families at Christmas, but they still had to go to work. They were realizing like that they were less important to this big system that than they felt they were. And that's hard on a lot of folks. That really rattled a lot of people's cages. And
Sure.
some people's takeaway from it was to get more socially responsible. And some people's takeaway from it was to abandon social responsibility
Right. Yeah.
and just say,
Yeah.
like, it's Mad
Like,
Max times, baby.
well, and I think that was it. I think everybody, everybody had to sort of come together and we had to do the right thing for the little bit of time that happened. But then we started to break off. And I think it did sort of remove the
Mm,
civility of it. It's like
mm.
it stopped being about bigger picture. It started being about me, me, me. There was a sense of like freedom and just being able to say to people what you think
Yeah.
without, outside of what a social construct would allow you to do. Um, but I think just the lashing out has increased. We've seen that. We see it on social media. We see it just in day to day lives. We see it with, going to the businesses of people and just yelling at them. Yeah, it's changed. It's changed a lot of people for the bad. I think it's changed a lot of people for the good. But the bad seems to always be the loudest part, right? We fail to see the good sometimes.
But do we think, I mean, I understand there's like maybe almost like a notion of expedience, right? And just like let's be done with all the pleasantries, let's be done with all the fluff and all the
Mm.
frills around conversation. Let's just cut to the chase. I'm super angry and I'm going to express this as purely as I possibly can in the interest of maybe this will get it solved quicker. And I understand that line of thinking because not even just for anger, but just in general emotion and communication. I think, like even as parents, Shannon and I decided uh uh, prior to the pandemic, but not like when the boys were both getting a little bit older, it's like, all right, doesn't matter if someone drops F bombs or who cares? Who cares about that? All it matters is we're talking. That's the important thing. We got to be talking. And if that comes with profanity, who cares? Um, and that was done in an effort for expedience to the core of an issue, as opposed to if you can't find a polite way to say something, just say it, and then we'll find a polite way to get out of it, basically afterwards. Do we think it's those people like, for example, you know, this is like people throwing gravel at Trudeau. This is protests that are so angry and threatening violence and stuff like that and being really, not good. Um, there's is there a point in which people think, well, this was supposed to make things faster and resolve them quicker? Or do we think they're thinking that at all?
I think they're just reacting to emotion, quite honestly.
Mm,
I think, when we see the flags and when we see, the convoys and we see all those kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, I think it has a purpose in their mind, but it really is just a reaction to emotion, whether you're feeling helpless, whether you're feeling, unheard. That is generally what precipitates any type of action, we'll say.
mhm.
Um, it's the level of trying to balance the emotion with the action. And I think that's where things have sort of been lost. It's like people are going to like the simplest part of who they are and just lashing out like children almost, right? When we
Mhm.
see them flying the flag or they've got the little, sticker on the back of their car, like they're like, I did that, right? It gives them a sense of accomplishment. I put that flag on my truck, or I yelled the name to a politician that walked by. But in the grand scheme of things, it isn't changing anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just making people angrier.
There's
Not
there's
productive.
that, but I think there's also like another layer to it where there's a very correct feeling of people feeling like they're getting ripped off, right? Like
Mhm.
housing is bonkers expensive, wages are falling behind, all of these things. And we keep getting told the economy is great. And it's like, well, for who really? But
Mhm.
and that feeling is reasonable. People are justified in feeling that way, right? Like
Yeah.
ordinary people are struggling more than ever. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that Food Banks of Canada study that found that 25% of people in Canada can't afford basic necessity, 2 out of 11 basic necessities. Like, by the EU
Crazy.
measurements of poverty, a quarter of Canadians are living in poverty line or below the poverty line.
Mhm.
So it's rough out there. People are struggling. And at the same time, during COVID, a lot of community connections broke down. Whether it be churches or going to, activity that they'd regularly go to or gatherings with a regular group or something. A lot of those got broken down during COVID. And the only community that a lot of these people found are these very angry online communities, but they embraced them. And so for a lot of these folks, it's just all they have. And so very cynical people are taking advantage of their anger. The anger is justified, but the way that it's directed isn't, you know?
Well, I think we see that though in politics, right? Like we're seeing that in Ottawa. Like, yes, everybody's feeling it. So then why aren't we all working together, quote unquote, to be working towards something? So when we're talking about, doing things that are going to benefit everyday Canadians. So when we're talking about school lunch programs or we're talking about pharmacare, things like that, is the rage farming or the ability to rage farm more attractive than actually trying to solve a problem to better the lives of Canadians? I mean, we hear Canada's broken. We
Mhm.
hear that, people are living in poverty. People have to go to food banks. And then on the flip side of it, it's like everybody's going to be affected by the capital gains tax. Like, that's not how it works. What is it? What is it? Right.
So
Um,
I read a thing that made a lot of sense to me the other day where like there's this um question in science of like there's so many possibility or possible places that life could emerge in the universe. Why haven't we found it? And one of the theories for why not is something called the Great Filter. Just nothing's ever made it past the point of making it. And this physicist named Brian Cox said that his theory is that every time a society invents the internet, it just destroys itself immediately. And it feels pretty spot on. Like there's
yeah.
rage gets clicks, angry gets you clicks, baby.
Mhm.
And so folks
Mhm.
are just gonna cynically farm this rage and just spool it along. And I wish I had a good answer, but I'm listening.
You're you're totally right. I mean, with the, the rage farming and stuff, I was looking today actually for a couple of examples of that because, uh, there's a story of a truck that was driving around Toronto, I think today,
Oh,
with
yes.
like very Islamophobic messaging on it. Basically, not even Islamophobic, just like appealing to dorks,
Yeah.
and showing people like essentially Muslim people and various like burqas and that type of thing, and saying, is this Canada?
Is this
Getting people
Iraq? Is this Syria?
yeah.
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 Anyway, it
Oh,
turns out that the Toronto Star said that this is it was one of those trucks that has the LED screens on both sides in the
mhm.
back.
We don't have a lot of those in
Everywhere. Yeah.
Regina. Most of ours just have
Yeah. I
like
know.
mud.
Even in Alberta.
It's just a guy drawing pictures, handing them out to
Truck nuts.
people. Does this look like Canada to you? No, seriously, does it? I'm not a very good drawer. Um, But yeah, it's one of these trucks that's got the LED screens on both sides in the back, and it's just driving around town. And the Toronto Star apparently, I saw earlier, had posted that it's owned and paid for by by Rebel Media, which surprises no one. And I think there have been other, someone pointed out at least someone had said there was some other like anti-Semitic messaging that was on another, and I don't know if that was accurate or not, but it wouldn't surprise me either.
Did you
'Cause
see
people
they're
are
already
horrible.
fundraising off it too?
Of course they are. Of course
That's
they
their
are.
They work
shtick.
fast.
But it made me start to think about like this, how much currency there is in anger. And I mean, we know it to be true. And I know it to be true for a very direct example where I did that video explaining Canada Day to Americans in 2017. And it gets like 3 million views every year, based entirely on people in the comments arguing. The more people argue, people just and then that gets pushed up in the algorithm. And then everyone sees it again, and everyone hopefully shares it, which is great because I still get paid for it. But I mean, it's horrible in a sense because I kind of hate it because not the only reason, one of the big reasons that it gets pumped back up into the stream is that people are fighting. It's making people angry. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to make anyone angry, first of all. But the people are in the comments are making each other angry and then they're fighting with each other. So it's shocking to me that people kind of fall for it and that we allow it to happen as well with social media platforms. Like it's just engagement. It's just enragement. That's it. There's no difference.
Ooh,
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Patented.
a
TM,
good one.
TM,
Copyright.
TM.
yeah,
TM.
right, exactly.
Cut to everyone just my keynote and or the book.
Right, there you
Engagement
go.
is enragement. Enragement is
But
Do
engagement.
you think people are
In a
going to
world-
get tired of it at some point and just say, like,
They've got
good
to.
Lord, enough is enough? Like,
No, they're going to find something else to get mad about. We've seen that. I think in a world where you feel that everything's wrong, you so want to be right. And I think that's what pushes these this constant battling about something. So first it was COVID, and then it was, they're always going to find something to continue to champion in order to continue to feel part of something bigger than they are. I think that's what people want, is they want to feel like they belong to something. I think on the flip side of those of us who maybe don't throw rocks at prime ministers, we're just not sometimes loud enough, right? We hear all the negative, but we also need to be louder.
But it's difficult, as Steve said, because you can't say and as you said earlier as well, you've got people who are going to food banks and you've got people complaining about the capital gains tax. So you can't say, listen, things are fine. You can't say things are okay. And someone who's going to the food bank's like, no, things are not okay.
Things are not okay, yeah.
simultaneously furious about 6 cents carbon tax and capital gains tax for their annual gains over $250,000.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
I feel like you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Our studio audience have said sounds like Twitter. And our studio audience is correct.
Yeah. Very correct.
And it's what's interesting to me though is I feel like there's a couple things. One is that I feel this is much more prevalent, or has become, the erosion of civility, the capitalization of anger. Capitalization of anger.
Are you writing these down?
He's
Like, these are
all
second
about
book.
this
I'll just go to the transcript. It's fine.
Just a man of ideas.
It's gonna be me holding a wad of bills, and on the bills, all the presidents or prime ministers are gonna be angry.
He's coming up with all these, like,
yeah. Listen,
Polyev type statements. Yeah, 3 syllable.
I gotta make money. But no, I think to myself, I don't feel this was the same way, or it has gotten worse since 2016. I feel there was an erosion of, I think when we and I don't want to tie everything back to Trump specifically. However, I do think on a media level, that was and a political level, that was one of the first big times for North America that people said, he'll never get in. He's a joke. He's a laugh. Now there's checks and balances. It's totally fine. He's never going to do a Muslim ban. He's never going to do this. And all that stuff happened. And everyone started to be kind of, to me, I feel like everyone got aware of the idea of like, this stuff isn't illegal necessarily. So like being a jerk isn't illegal, and it gets you ahead sometimes. Maybe I should just do that. Do we think it's that? Do we think that was compounded by the pandemic?
So I think to some extent, yes, because I think Donald Trump, and I hate talking about him because he's really very, but I think his administration really highlighted how a lot of our political systems are just held together by norms, right? By
yes,
just the expectation that everybody is trying to do the right thing. And if they abandon that illusion entirely, there's not a lot to stop them. And
yeah, there's a little bit of the Wile E. Coyote, isn't there? Like running off the edge of the cliff, and then someone says, "Hey, remember gravity?" And he's like, "Ah!"
But once he did that, it kind of sent this general message that, like, all bets are off.
Wile E. Coyote or Trump? Which one?
Both. But like, Donald Trump really did sort of break the glass on political malfeasance going mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think that trickles down into society. People are just like, I don't need to follow the rules. Screw that.
Well, Yeah, I mean, there's that definitely, but I think, and what we're seeing with Polyev now is that they have the ability to speak to that faction of society that either feels that they've never been heard or they aren't part of, what is I want to say the norm, but like there's a group, right, that sort of gets moved along with people who come out of white trailers on the side of the highway and, commiserate with things that they know nothing about, but make those people feel heard and seen,
Mhm.
right? So, like, in reality, if you ever put a Trump or a Polyev in a room with Bobby Joe, like the two would never like meet,
Bobby
right? Like there'd
Joe?
be like, well, I'm just coming up
Who's
with a
Bobby
name. I don't know.
Joe?
We saw
So,
you
I don't
trying to
know.
pull something
Bubba,
out of the hat,
Bubba.
and that's
I know. I was trying
it
to be
was
like
running thin, man.
Cletus. I don't know. I'm trying to think of, but you know what I mean. Like a Polyev would never
Right, hang out with that crowd anyway.
familiarize himself with someone like that.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So when you have, and we saw, like you see that people get super excited. It's like celebrity status
Sure.
politician because they feel seen. And so when you're amplifying their argument, even though you don't give a shit about how it's going to impact people, you're going to get that vote. And I think at the end of the day, now, unfortunately, it's just about votes. It really isn't about caring about that community or this community or that people are going to the food bank who are, middle income earners, but just can't afford things. And I don't think like a Polyev or a Trump ever gave a shit about that. It's about the winning and how do we win?
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's what makes it sad.
what's interesting though is that I think you're right. You're completely right that it's so the game aspect of politics is so transparent now. And I mean, maybe it's always been kind of transparent, but I mean, I think social media has amplified it. Um, but I wonder, you've like here, for example, I'm trying to think of the example specifically in town here. You've got this civility thing that's ending where people feel like they've been done wrong and they have to step up and speak out. And they've saw by example that the norms don't matter anymore. I don't have to follow decorum. That doesn't work for me. And that's not putting food on my plate. Um, and so they just go ahead and do whatever they want to do and then end up getting banned from the hockey rink.
As
Um,
one does.
as one does. I've like, for example, there was apparently one of the city council members was approached by someone who came into their place of business and gave them what for, and it's like from a decorum perspective, it's like that's
Hmm.
not going to get any results that you want
Can I
for sure.
can I ask what their grievance is, or is that giving away the whole?
I mean, it's essentially tied to. There's lots and lots of things, but it's this general idea of feeling like perhaps some city council people were out for themselves and benefiting from decisions council was making, personally. Um, and then also making decisions that maybe could have benefited them, but we're not putting those decisions up for discussion, just kind of like pushing them through. That's my takeaway from it.
The politics.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but then what's interesting now is that there's another side of it where there's some counselors who are who are just not helping themselves either, who are engaging back in the same manner, and it's just all gone to hell. So my question, which I took ages to stumble to, is is it worth it being a politician anymore? It's kind of a rhetorical question because I hope it still is, but at the same time, I asking it honestly, like who would want to do that?
Enough. There is no
I
sum of
know.
money in the world because it is not only so toxic, you see the machinery of politics eat up so many people. Like there are so many people go in with good intentions
Hmm.
and come out like with no integrity left. Right? Like I think
Or
of
just broken.
Or broken,
Just
yeah,
or they
broken.
get
Yeah.
I
busted,
think
yeah.
of there's a politician in Saskatchewan, Kevin Doherty, I think his name is, who stepped away from politics because he had like a personal revelation of like, after 17 years in office, what have I accomplished? And the answer was nothing.
That's horrendous, isn't it? I mean, for lots of reasons, but that'd
Right.
be personally horrendous, yeah.
And like he, you know, kudos to him for at least owning it and saying like, "Oof, I messed up. I'm sorry. But
Mm.
I
But did he mess up, or is it just is it just politics?
kinda.
Okay, fair enough.
but
All right.
no, just
But he had some insight, so that's okay.
he's from a
Yeah.
government that I have firm opinions on, as people have probably sussed out. So,
Right.
Um,
Bit of an Ebenezer Scrooge story. I get
yeah.
it.
But like you hear politician after politician, like Shannon Phillips in Alberta, stepping
Mhm.
away, and like he's a phenomenal politician, but he was literally being tormented by the Lethbridge Police Department, wasn't she?
Yes.
That's devastating to me because Shannon is an amazing human and she's a tough cookie.
Hmm.
So if she's backing out because of the feeling the pressures, I can only imagine what it's like. She made, oh God, so she made it okay for the rest of us, excuse me, to speak out, right?
Right.
So when you see like a Shannon Phillips, along with a lot of the other NDPers in Alberta, but like Shannon, especially for me, she made it okay to speak out. And so that's why I speak out. I don't think I need to worry about, Lethbridge police following me around. And that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine what it's like not only having to do your job to represent your constituents, like that's what you're elected for, but then have to deal with all this other stuff on the background that you're never going to know about till you know about it. And then start to realize how long have I been being watched? How long has this been going on? Yeah, it's icky.
So how does, I mean, it's terrible because you have someone who's going into politics. I think the majority, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say the majority of people who get into politics go into politics with an aim to make something better, at least one thing. They've gone in with one thing they're going to try to make better. And they go in with the best of intentions. And very few people go into politics for the money, though there are some, and I can give you names.
We have a list.
We have a list of people. But who reads the story about Shannon Phillips and goes, yeah, I'm going to step into that? Like nobody's going to do it. I remember another city council tieback here in town. There was a guy, because I mean, city politics, I think, is the worst. Municipal politics is the worst level of politics you could possibly imagine being, because you are hounded at the grocery store, at McDonald's, when you go out on a Friday night for dinner. You're just like, people know you and they know where to find you. If it's a small town, it'd be a nightmare. I'd hate it. They'd be asking about all different types of stuff and be like, listen, man, I don't know. I'm just here to eat my McChicken. Not that I dine in at McDonald's very often.
It's
but if
so
I was
glamorous.
Mayor, I would. Man of the people. No, I understand you. But who, so this was tied back to the council thing, right? And, it's been acrimonious between people in general in city councils forever. I remember back in the 80s, there was a guy who went into city council, into city politics, purely for the reason that he had no family and was independently wealthy. And he said, I don't care what anybody says to me. I've got nothing to lose. And I do want to make the city better. Now, he was crazy. However, he got in, I think for a couple of terms anyway. And I think, like, to myself now, that's really the only way I can imagine thinking, yeah, I'll go into this. Because if I went into politics, people often say to me, you should go into politics. And like, one, I'm an idiot. So that's a stupid idea. The only thing dumber than me is that idea. And two, I wouldn't subject my family to it. And I already subject my family to being, looked at online. I don't get it. Who's going to politics? How do we fix this?
And
Fix it, Steve.
But that's the other problem
Steve.
is it's not just, if you go into politics, it's not just you anymore. They go after politicians' families these days in like awful ways. And I wouldn't do that to my wife. Like,
no,
that's awful, man. And like, I think fairly recently to a member of Scott Moe's family. I won't get specific because I feel weird even bringing it up because it has nothing to do with him. Had a driving issue in BC.
Yes.
We'll go that far with it. And people started saying just vile stuff. Like, just awful. And it's like, look, man, I have endless problems with Scott Moe. That is his kid. He has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is not an elected official. He is just a guy living his life in BC.
Yeah.
Like, but that's awful. Who would want that?
I think, back in the good old days of politics, like you had to actually go down to a constituency office. You couldn't just shoot off an email. You couldn't just, and I think the accessibility that politicians are supposed to have now causes part of the problem, right? You can be 3 a.m, you can be angry about something and you can send off a letter, or it changes the dynamic of what politics is supposed to be.
Mhm.
And then conversely, we expect access to our politicians. So we expect them to show up at all these events and do all these things, right? But that also puts in a situation where, like, is there going to be constructive dialogue? I don't even know if people want constructive dialogue. I think people just want a figurehead to be able to yell at and say, these are my grievances and you're the problem, when that's not the case. And we know that. Um, but, but that's, I know we get asked a lot, oh, you should run for
Yeah.
politics and you guys could make changes. And part of me is like, absolutely not. Absolutely not, for all the reasons that we could list.
Yeah.
But then part of me is like, and I'm not, so this is not an admission, anybody, any camera, anywhere. If not us, then who? Right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I take this extracurricular activity that we do seriously
Yeah.
to get out messaging for people. Is it hypocritical of me to say, but I don't want to do it? Maybe, right? Maybe it is. But it's becoming increasingly more difficult, and it's become increasingly more difficult for women because it's not, or female presenting people, because it's not even just, it's not even just, we're going to hound you, but we're going to attack you. Like, we're going to attack things that have nothing to do with your politics. We're going to attack things that have nothing to do with what you're trying. It's very difficult, I think, for all politicians, but specifically women and female presenting, not to take it away from you boys, but
You're
No, I think you're right.
100% right, but I'd also add on racialized politicians and to us LGBTQIA plus politicians.
Yes.
Because some of the online hate that gets hurled at people like Janice Irwin
Oh my
horrifies
God.
me.
Yeah.
God, it's
And
right.
Janice is perhaps the loveliest person in the universe. And people are
You just want to pick her up and put her in your
like-
pocket. Like, she's so nice.
She's, you can agree with her politics, you can disagree with her politics. She is a tremendously
Sure.
nice person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
She cares. She cares.
and people are just tremendously mean to her. And
Mhm.
for no reasons. Like, just to be mean. I don't just hate, man. It kills me.
It is hate. And I mean, we'll speak about Alberta because that's what I know. And so, when the NDP candidates put their name forward, right? And so, like, the onslaught of criticism for various candidates as opposed to other candidates because of their gender, because of their, like, that I think is a tactic of the alt wrong to try and break people who may be strong and maybe well spoken and well versed, to try and break them, because you can only hear those things or look at those things so much.
Mhm.
And as strong as you are and as tough as you think you can be, it's going to wear on you.
Yeah.
It may
Seeps in.
take years. It may take, yeah, exactly. And so for us, like, I know if I get an onslaught and I decide to take a day off from whatever I do, that's fine. You can't do that in politics. You know what I
No.
mean? You can't just take a day off. It's who you are for that term,
I mean,
and it
Doug
follows you.
Ford finds a way.
Well, Doug Ford's a magician.
But this is
Goes into
this
his
is I
little
think part of it
cloak.
though is like folks like Doug Ford and those guys, they got no problem going off and hiding in Muskoka.
Yeah.
Among people who
We're still waiting for Danielle Smith to come out with the damn issue in Calgary. So yeah, it's funny
but
how
this is it. They stay with in their little happy little circles. And so the people who suffer the most are the best politicians, the ones who are responsive
Yeah.
and
Yes.
accessible. They're the ones who get the endless abuse because they're the ones that people can get to.
And I know people will bring up the fact that Doug Ford gives out his cell phone number all the time. Not buying it. I'm not buying it. It's kind of like, do you guys ever see the service that used to be, you can still get it, where as a social media content creator or a celebrity, you could have a cell phone number you could put in your bio and you could like text me anytime you
Oh,
want. And
yeah.
it would just
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
be like it's another social platform. People would text you and it would show up in a feed and you could respond if
If
you wanted directly
any
or not.
politician knows how to get a
Fantastic.
burner phone, it's Doug Ford.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. But how do we, I mean, this is distressing to me.
I'm going no further.
All right, we're just leave it at that. Leave that hanging in the air.
This is distressing though, because I want to know, I know that it was, I remember I've made a video making fun of politicians or something, and it's easy to do.
What?
And
Hey man, sometimes the low-hanging fruit is the sweetest.
Exactly. And I remember I got contacted by Jill Promoli, I believe her name is. I know that's her name. I just don't know if I'm saying it right. And she was running, and she had said to me, "You're hilarious. I think you're funny, and all that kind of stuff is great. I'm a big fan, but we want more smart people, and we can't be putting people off being politicians." And I agree with her. I totally agree with her. I was like, "You're absolutely right. However, you also have to hold to account the people who are not awesome, and evidently not awesome." So it's distressing because I don't know how we address it. Like I was thinking, a couple of things. One is, does it, do we have ghost governments? Should there just be a figurehead and everybody else is just nobody knows who it is? I thought, no, that removes all accountability and just lets people operate in the shadows. That's no good. But then if that accountability comes at such a huge price for people. It comes at the price of your family and, like you said, for example, Premier Mo's, kid. And it's like, that's who no one should be touching or talking about. And you go down to the States.
Leave the kids alone.
I know, even like right down to like the States with Hunter Biden. It's like, I don't care. This has got nothing to do with anything.
Nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many layers to this, right? There's media accountability is a big part of it, right? There are very specific media outlets that fuel the nonsense, right?
Sure.
But I think there's also a big place here for accountability for social media networks when it comes to things like content moderation, right? Like it is, especially on Twitter/X, it is the Wild West, man. It is nuts on there. Like they've gone from just like nudes in bio to like, you're like, hey, I had a nice day today. And they're like full on naked people in the replies.
Yeah.
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 Is
not
a problem
when
for
they
you?
wonder.
I mean, I am in a place, man. If you're checking Twitter at the bank.
Well,
boobies. Can you say boobies would make them
not going to make
no, we're just going to add that to a soundboard is what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I forgot what I got distracted by boobies.
Who doesn't get distracted? Right? Exactly. It's very common.
Lordy.
I don't know how we solve it. I don't know how we get past this point, because I think it's really important for us to have really smart politicians and people there are people who get into it for the common good and the greater good. And that's super important. And I do think it's, social media platforms for sure they have to do something better about moderation and I don't know exactly what that means while still offering the services they offer. I don't know how feasible that is.
I think there's the debate about blocking, politicians who block or politicians who restrict comments. And like, I think they should be able to. Like, I don't care if they're publicly elected. I think if you've been harassed by a certain, like, I have not been blocked by many politicians, knock wood, because I don't go after them. I go after their policy. I don't go after the person. Right. And I think that's where there's the gray now, is that people have moved it from going at them for policy to it being completely personal.
I disagree.
There's blood coming down.
I disagree on the block thing for only one reason. Because they could mute you instead. And I think the public should be able to see what the politician posts.
I'll go one further. First of all, it sounds like, Lisa, you're totally in favor of banning the people from Stratford City property. Yes, absolutely.
He's actually advocating for them to be like What's the one where they put them in the wooden thing in the
The
town
stock?
square?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lovely market square now,
Throwing
so it would be nice.
Oh, you could get the tomatoes right there.
You can buy some from
Yeah.
farm fresh tomatoes and then
Exactly.
ridicule the.
We have a lovely
Yeah.
slow food market, and end of the day, there could be a sale, and you could go over and buy, some old vegetables and do your thing. Nothing,
And yell at
no
the people in the
melons, no
stalks.
turnips.
Yeah, nothing
The
with a
truth's too
rind.
hard. No, nothing with the rind. I think that's just common justice. I'll go one step further. What if politicians aren't on social media at all? Do they need to be? I don't think
Yeah,
they do.
they do.
I don't
They
think they
do.
do.
You don't think they need to?
No, I think that might be it. I think I've been trying to think of the way to get past it. I think that might be it. Because why do they need to
Okay.
be on there?
I have no problem with them being on there because I genuinely think that for some politicians, it's a great way to communicate with them, honestly. Like some
Sure,
politicians
Pierre
are
Poilievre is a good example of that. Pierre Poilievre is a fantastic
But-
example of that.
What I think we need is something along the lines of it looks like it's going to pass in Wales. There's a law against politicians lying. Just a law prohibiting lying.
How have we not thought of that
Like,
before
damn it.
Like,
2024?
in all honest truth, there's lots of professions that are bound to tell the truth. As a teacher, I can't lie to
Yeah,
a
sure.
parent. Your lawyer
Yeah.
can't lie to you. Why can your
Yeah, that
politician
accountability.
lie to you? And so
I think
there's adding a layer of responsibility to politicians as part of the answer here, because there are some bad.
but that would be
actors
hard
who are
to
just-
hard to enforce, because you're going to have people who are going to say, you're going to have politicians saying, I miswrote, I mistyped, I didn't mean to say that, I meant to say
Or
this
with the
instead.
knowledge I had at the time. Like,
And then you've
they're
got
gonna
the
get out
same
of it, right?
problem of the truth, a lie going half around the world before the truth gets its pants on. You've got this exact same problem with social media. I think I was looking back again for videos about how to, people have made anger a currency. And, I thinking back to the innocent days of Ed Balls, the British MP, who tweeted out
Ed Balls.
Best name ever. Best
And
name
Twitter
ever.
still
It's like, those
recognizes Ed Balls Day every year.
who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? It's a glorious thing.
And
It's like it
what
celebrates
do you think he was trying to search for himself?
Yes, I do.
Like,
Absolutely.
my hope is that he was just saying, like, just shouting it into the universe, like standing on the precipice of a cliff and just Ed Balls.
Let's all do it together.
Oh my god. The soundbite for the show is balls and boobies.
Oh.
Like, honest to
Oh,
God.
that's pretty good. There's the
maybe
caption
our
right
song
there.
should just
There
be
you
all
go.
yelling Ed Balls as loud as possible.
Right.
That's a song,
But yeah,
right?
I think I'm going to stand by the idea that I think that politicians shouldn't be on social media except for like official messaging. That's official messaging. That's it. You want to communicate with your politician, your MP, you can write them a letter. Keeps the kind of
So any and all politicians off.
they don't need to be there. I think they just don't need to be there at all, because they're going to start engaging. Even you're going to get, like there's a lot of liberal MPs who I follow and I have no problems with whatsoever. And there's a number of MPs I follow, various parties I have no problems with. And they post stuff, and it's like, I don't know if you should be posting this, because this isn't government policy necessarily. This is like how you feel about something. This is just muddying the water. This is all it's doing, is muddying the water.
I love that you just need to say a liberal MP who's spicy on Twitter, and we all know exactly. We don't need to say it. If you're on Twitter, you know.
We don't need to. Exactly.
But then, okay, so if we're going to say that no politician should be on Twitter,
Yeah.
then, like, are we not trying to go back in time? I mean, I know conservative governments are trying to go back in time, but in a different way. But aren't we saying, like, then, like, by limiting the access or limiting us knowing what they think, like, then we would go back to, like, just knowing politicians during pressers. And then we would go back to, I don't know, needing more reliable news outlets and reporters to be able to deliver the messaging. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, we've been going back to.
So the answer in my books, the best answer that I can come up with, and like this is going to be me standing on my soapbox.
Let me put this down and
It's
start writing.
electoral
Okay?
reform, right? It's moving to a more representative electoral system, because almost every system other than first past the post leaves you with coalition government. It forces parties to be able to cooperate. And so
Mhm.
parties are more reluctant to just throw out those, F Trudeau attacks and stuff because they may eventually have to form a coalition government with someone. And
Mm.
so I like electoral reform is I genuinely think an essential ingredient here, because so long as polarizing politics are effective, it's what people are going to use.
I don't know if
Soapbox
I agree.
over. I kept that pretty restrained.
You did. It was good. It was very nice. I'm still not sure I agree. I feel like
There wasn't any flipping of tables, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think,
We're not
I
even
mean, I
we're
don't
not talking to
not
each other
think
anymore.
that. Yeah, that's it. Whatever. Mad at you now. I'm not gonna. I don't know. What I find that's ironic is that, and maybe this is what blurs the messaging, is that, when you've got the fuck Trudeau people, when you've got, people coming after, even though I may not agree 100% with policy, and I've said this before, I will defend, because the people making the attacks are so wrong that I will I'll defend Trudeau, right? Like I will,
Sure,
because
right.
the attacks are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we stop focusing on what the actual policies are and what doing the right thing, because everybody's spending so much time either attacking or defending. Like we're missing that, right? Like I know from my hometown politicians, my home province politicians, if I see ridiculous comments, then I will just like how our the people that follow us do, right? Like they'll come to our defense in the comments, which is
Mhm.
beautiful. Thank you. And it's challenging the people that think that they can make whatever kind of statement they make. What?
No,
What?
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing because like very dedicated and loving followers who are like eager to defend you in the comment section. They're very sweet and kind and trying to do the right thing. And every now and then they aim at somebody who's just making a joke, and you're like, everybody be cool.
I know.
And that's what I was laughing at.
Yeah.
Stand down. I know.
Like,
I know.
This person was typing
Cool
with sarcasm.
down,
Everyone
everybody.
relax.
Right, I know. Yeah, I know. And sometimes, and I don't catch them all, but sometimes I'm like, it was a joke. It was just a joke.
That's
I
why
know
I
it's
was
a joke.
laughing, because I was just remembering, like, yes, they're very
know.
sweet, but every now and then they gotta chill out.
I think I'll go
Fair,
back.
that's fair.
I'll go back, Lisa, to what you said about are we just trying to go back in time by not having politicians online? And no, I don't think so. Because I think that, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have news online. I think that one of the things that Threads, for example, is missing is news. It's dumb that there's no news on there. There should be news on there. But what I think that, rather, I do think that maybe politicians don't need to have that direct line to the public's ear. That's not especially in Canada, it's not representative of what their party line is or what they're going to be doing or what's officially the word from the government. Again, I jokingly, I wasn't even joking, but I teasingly said, Pierre Poilievre shows it's an excellent way to connect with his people.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it himself, and he's absolutely 1,000% correct that it is an excellent way for him to communicate directly to the people. However, the stuff he's communicating is sometimes shit. Whereas
Subtle.
if this
Very
was
subtle.
Sometimes,
but if it was the official, Conservative Party or loyal opposition or whoever, NDP or Liberal Party communicating messaging, they can go directly to the people as well, but they can't just put out a meme necessarily. I think that's dumb. I hate that. Any party that's doing it.
Did you see what
watched,
Poilievre put out this afternoon?
Which one was this?
So it's the one where like Trudeau's sitting in his office and there's
photo
of Jagmeet Singh's on the wall that says Employee of the Month. And it's just like, you want to be prime minister. This is bonkers.
Yeah, but you know what? Seeing who is it? Is it Merritt Stiles? Or is it? And I like Merritt a lot. Their TikTok, the NDP's TikTok.
Those are great.
No.
Yeah, I love them. They're not for you, man. They're not for you. They are for the chronically online.
I get them.
Fight it out in the octagon, boys. Fight it out.
This is great. Let's go back to the octagon. I get them. I know why they're doing them. I think that they're getting engagement. I don't know if they're helping the general discourse of things. it's certainly not going to make a lot of people vote for them.
Well,
Meaning
we
a
hope.
huge group of
Here's the
people.
thing, though. They're
Yeah.
not like rolling out
A majority.
policy. That's just brand building. That's just trying to make the NDP like a
Mhm.
friendly brand, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think anybody's trying to communicate actual policy messaging with like kitten memes.
They're not?
Not lately.
Okay.
Not since they had to try to get Donald Trump to understand economics. They tried using fries and he didn't understand, so they moved to meme.
Okay, so memes don't work, but they might work.
Memes don't work. No,
So
memes don't work.
Politicians should and should not be on social media.
Correct.
People,
They should
politicians'
be in
families.
a what's it? The Schrodinger's cat state, both
Yeah,
online
exactly.
and
Yeah.
Schrodinger's
online.
cat.
A lot.
box.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I again, it leads us to the problem of like, how do we get people interested in politics? Like, why would you possibly subject yourself to that, and how do we fix that? And I think that social media plays a huge part in it. And it is a little bit of like, I understand the idea of saying you're going back in time, but in the same vein, I think that we have to not just see social media as necessarily progress. It's a thing. It's,
Yeah.
it's not like this is the way
I
we
don't-
communicate now. It is kind of only because we've been told this is the way to communicate now.
Social media is horrible.
It's rotten
Yeah.
people's
But
brain to
it's
soup,
the-
man.
Oh, it
Look
is.
at
It's
this. Look at the
terrible,
three of us.
Right?
Oh, it's
Oh
awful.
my God.
Yeah.
But we have to figure out a way to use, where we're at this point. Because if it's not going to be the politicians putting out memes, then it's going to be, certain media franchises that would be putting out information. Snippet spoke to this staffer of this staffer. Like it's going to come out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Part of me is like, if it gets rid of like Waliev and the Ferraris and all the other ones, I'm like, ban them.
Yeah, I know.
As soon as somebody is categorically excluded from public discourse, that's bad.
Ugh. My freedom.
Well, this goes. This
Freedom.
is a nice callback to the Stratford City Council. You know what I mean? Is banning the Is that right?
Damn you, Stratford.
Exactly.
Started this whole
It
thing.
all
Center of the
comes
universe.
back to Stratford.
It always
knew
does. Never say never. Never say never. It's a Justin Bieber song, by the way. It's the movie. You ever watch it? There's a lot of Stratford in it. Very good movie,
I
actually.
really should.
it. It's been on my list.
Just all over the
Don't be patronizing. I can tell when you're being patronizing.
Never perish the thought.
Patrick.
You guys are missing out. It's an amazing story. He loses his voice near the end of the climax. You don't know if he's going to do the last big concert in Manhattan in Times Square. In Madison Square, not Times Square, Madison Square Gardens. You don't know that.
There's a
know
lot of
what's gonna happen.
tension in
Nobody
that movie, is there?
There's a tremendous amount of tension.
Oh my God, my
Things
wife
could go either
gets
way.
annoyed with me when she's like nervous in a scene in a movie, and I'm like, "There's 90 minutes left in the movie, and he's the main character. It's fine."
Oh, you're that
Down to
guy.
the wire. Never say never is down to the wire. It is a good movie. I stand by that.
Well, as usual, we've solved nothing.
Exactly.
Spun our
All right,
tires for a while.
let's just hope that somebody doesn't listen to this podcast and doesn't read the newspaper and decides they're smart and they're nice and they go into politics. That's our solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just cross.
It's
our
that or
fingers.
sortition.
Hope for
Just
the
draw
best.
names.
Yeah, exactly. Let's finish off as we always do with our improvised theme song. Do you have your instruments for this week?
Indeed. What key should the
God, I hope
harmonica
one day-
be in?
Whatever key Lisa's dog is in.
No.
And do we have a BPM for the metronome?
Not the 190 or whatever we did last
The
week.
one-
Okay,
People
so we
nearly
want to
died.
go.
It was too fast.
We peak out at 208.
It's too fast
What
for
do you think
Steve.
here?
The 150 is good, isn't it?
What?
Oh, you want to do
Oh,
fast?
God,
okay,
no.
that's fine.
Oh, we should bring it
Well,
down.
you're not. That's too slow.
So like 87 or something? What is that?
That is.
Let's play guess the BPM.
Oh God, are we actually playing guess?
Win a prize. Guess
Yeah.
what?
On an actual fl-
This is what I believe our studio audience has left, and it seems obvious
Yeah.
why.
Just us. I don't blame her.
Okay, that's
There,
good.
we're good
Whatever
with
that
that.
is.
Television
Whatever
show.
that is.
Yeah, it's got a sort
Hey.
of classic rock tempo to it.
Today we shall be in the key of G.
Excellent.
You and your damn instruments. So I thought it was topical because I recently got my climate incentive check.
Oh,
And yes, I get a
Oh,
check.
I still get the
because I
check
like getting
too.
paper.
Same here.
Right? Thank you, Steve. Okay. But I took it out so you can't see my address, but I love the sound the window makes.
Yeah, it is pretty great.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do.
It's like
We're using
rain.
Thanks, Government of Canada,
Yeah.
for our instrument.
Here we go. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Michelle's putting her noise canceling headphones on. Podcast is broken.
Broken.
Michelle, our studio audience was quiet for the whole damn show and then just piped up to make fun of our theme song.
It feels right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Uh,
Take criticism well.
exactly. Thanks so much for. So go ahead, Steve. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
We don't. We're very sensitive. We're very sensitive people.
We are. Exactly. Thanks so much for watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken. Remember, you can subscribe at podcastisbroken.ca. We're rocketing. Every episode rockets into the top of the Apple Podcast charts. I think in Canada, we were number 20, I think, in politics. I think we were number 40-something in news.
We're on a rocket ship to the moon, baby.
We're on a rocket ship to Peter Mansbridge's butt. And we're going to just keep on going.
I would like to bypass that location if possible.
Nope. It's the only way to the top, Steve. It's the only way to the top. Right through Mansbridge.
Lordy.
Straight over the bridge.
Oh,
Straight over the street.
I think that's more under, but okay.
Well, that's a podcast joke. It's the name of this podcast. Is the bridge.
Yeah.
So we do this every week. And remember, you can, of course, subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast platform as well. And thank you to all who subscribe. And thanks to all, especially the people who paid subscribed. Pay subscribed? That's the word. We're paying subscribers. There we go. That's it. Because this is the quality you come to expect and what your good hard-earned money is going towards.
Nothing but the best.
Thank you.
We're so sorry, Michelle.
We all have to pay that capital gains.
But before we go, before we actually cut off here entirely, Michelle, if you have a question, you're going to do a Q&A, but it's just you. So go ahead. If you have a question, go for it.
No pressure.
No pressure, Michelle.
Yeah, no pressure.
I mean, studio
no
audience.
pressure at all.
Okay.
And Michelle's at a
See how
loss.
hard it is, Michelle? See how hard it is, Michelle?
We can't just come up with stuff like that.
This is why we do what we do.
Woo.
The crowd goes wild.
Amazing.
All right, there you go. Thanks so much for watching and
would
listening.
be appreciated. Yeah, that's fair.
We feel the same way, Michelle.
If we have to go seat of the pants, you're going seat of the pants. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.
Take care of yourselves, folks.
Bye.